Okay, so you're going to start off with a list of EINs, which are tax ID numbers for the foundations themselves. Um, these are going to come in, you'll get a list of them in an Excel file called a CSV file, comma separated value file. And what you'll do is you will have to copy the EIN first. Then we go and we go to the Foundation Center. We go through the AU library. So just search for start your research at the library's website. We're going to go to the A to Z databases. Wait for it to load. Go to the F's. And it's first from the bottom, Foundation Directory Online Professional. Click there. Sign in. You may get a different screen from me because I am technically faculty. But there's an internal server error. Well, hopefully the Foundation Center isn't down. Let's see what's happening here. So this is the page that it's going to bring you to, and we don't want to use the simple search function. We want the advanced search and filters, and we want the additional filters because we are looking to input the EIN. So go ahead and just click here, right click and hit paste. That'll paste the EIN into the box, and then hit your search button. Now this is going to bring up a page that's going to explain what is going on, but not really. It says there's no grants, and it says that there's no recipients and $0 total dollars to their grants. This is because the Foundation Center is having a slight amount of problems with their database. What we'll do is we'll come down here, we will right click on the name. As long as there is the name of a grant maker, you will come down here and right click on the name of the grant maker and open it in a new tab. We'll go to the other tab. Now, what this will do is it brings up information about what this foundation is doing and what they're funding. We want to view each grant with more detail. So click that button there. Now it still says that there are 0 grants. That's because we now have the name of the organization in the proper field. Right here it gives you the years that the year range that you want to search for. We don't want any year range at all. We want all the grants. So we're going to click here, the X next to, and that's random. So that changes with every foundation that you search, which is why we want to get rid of it for every single time. Now it still says 0 grants. That's a lie. We hit, now that we have just the name of the foundation and no date range, we hit search. And voila, 31 grants. So we go down to the section where the grants are more fully listed, and we click view all because we want to view them all. Now, at this point, what we have to do is you go to the grant maker section and you click it. See how there's no arrow next to it at all? That's because they're arranged in chronological order at this point. Click it once to organize it in descending alphabetical order. Okay, and then look at the first names to see if it's different from the original foundation. And this is why we open a new tab, because now we can go back, because sometimes when it's like the 4th hour that you've been doing this and you've done 100 different foundations, you forget which one you're on. So you can come back here and see what the name of the foundation is. Okay, we organized it in ascending order. That is the same. So now we're going to click it again, and you can see the arrow is pointing up. This will organized in ascending alphabetical order, and it's still the same. The reason we do this is that every once in a while, it's very uncommon, but it happens. You'll have a foundation that, say it has given out 5,000 grants, but it may have actually received 3 grants from another foundation. The Gates Foundation will sometimes do a cash drop, or some other big foundation will transfer money into that. We try to set up how we pick these so that way we don't have things like that. But when that's the case, we don't want those grants. We don't want the grants that they've received to be mixed in with what we're doing, because then we're going to get double counts. Because, like, say the Lilly Foundation receives a grant from the Sean Foundation, and we actually want to see the grants that the Lilly Foundation is giving out, but we also want to see the grants that the Sean Foundation is giving out. And so if we go and pull the grants for both foundations down, we end up double counting those grants because they pop up in both the Lilly as receiving and in the Sean as giving. So what you would do in this kind of, now there's less than 100. This is important because the grants that are listed, they only show 100 at a time. So in this case, we're going to click here to select all the grants. Now, if, say, these 2 first ones were actually ones that were given to the Montekahini-Nackard Foundation, you would unclick those, so that way they're not selected. But as long as there aren't any grants that they've received, you click this one to select all of them. Come up here to download a CSV, comma-separated value file of these results. You now wait. It's going to come up as named data.csv. We don't want it to be data.csv. What we're going to do is we're going to put them in here. You will be saving them locally on your hard drive and then uploading them like into a Dropbox or something. We'll cover that later. So what you do is, now because there's less than 100, we just name the file with the EIN number of the foundation. But you can see in here, like 8 blah 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 dash 021, or this one's 001, 002, 003, 004. That means that, and it stops at 007, so let's just look at this one right here. That means that there was 600 and some grants that this foundation gave out. And so because it only gives you 100 at a time, I took the first 100 and saved them, and when I named it the EIN of the foundation, put a dash, and put 001. And this will make more sense when we come to a foundation that actually has more than one grant. But because this one only has 31, it has less than 100, we're just going to name it simply with the EIN of the foundation. Okay. And because of that, we're now done with this foundation. We close this tab. We go back to the Excel file. We're going to mark a 1 here to indicate that it did pop up in our search and it did have grants. That's what the 1 means. We're going to go to the next EIN. And we're just going to come right back here to the search field, paste her in, search for the EIN. Okay, this one, it says 0 grant makers, 0 grants, 0 recipients, and 0 tax forms. That means for sure that the foundation is not showing up in the Foundation Center database at all. So then you come back here to where you just copied that foundation, and you put a 0 here to indicate whether or not it has popped up. We need to know whether or not you found it, because if it appears in this list but we don't have any data files that have the EIN in the file name, we're going to think that you skipped it. Plus the other bonus is by doing 1 for it to be there, 0 to it not to be there, we can just take the average of all the things in this column, and that's going to let us know the average of foundations that didn't appear in the database. So we're going to go to the next EIN, copy it, come back over here, paste it in the field, do a search, One grant maker, the McGill's Charitable Foundation. Oh, in Salt Lake City. Okay, so they have grants. We're going to view the grants with more detail. We're going to erase the date range. And then we're going to hit search. They have 37 grants. View all. We're going to... Okay, it's still the McGill's Charitable Foundation. Still the McGill's Charitable Foundation. So, we are going to download these. And because there's only 37, we're just going to paste the EIN, go back to here, indicate that it had grants, move on to the next one. Close out this tab, paste. Okay, this one is a grant maker, Aaron A. Hoffman Foundation. There are grants, so they give a wide range too, look at that. Okay, erase the date range. You gotta wait for it to reload, and then hit search. 16 grants. Oh, okay, that's good. Aaron A. Hoffman. Aaron A. Hoffman. Boop. This is the part I love, waiting. Okay, just 16, so we're doing just the EIN. I'm hoping we can get to one that has more than 100, so I can show you what that looks like. Copy. Once you kind of get the steps down, it becomes, this starts to get, it takes a while for you to kind of like train your hands. Richard W. Erickson Foundation. But once you kind of start to learn the steps, okay, the Richard W. Erickson Foundation is not here. They don't have any records of any grants at all. This is why all these forms are, all these boxes are empty. They have a lot of cash. Well, $4.5 million. All right, we're going to go back here. They do have 14,990s, so this is kind of a special case. You're going to put a 1 to indicate that it's here, but then you're going to write in this column, the third column, that there were 14,990s to indicate that their tax ID forms are there. Hit a semicolon and then put no grants for sure. That means that you definitely went to the second page and checked it to make sure that there weren't any grants in the record. Okay, move on to the next one. Sometimes you'll roll through these and you'll get a bunch that only have, they have less than 100, or sometimes they're maybe just 200. And then once in a while, now see, this one doesn't have a grant maker. There are tax forms, but it doesn't have a grant maker. If it has no grant, oh, gotta close that one there. If it has no grant maker whatsoever, then it still doesn't count. So that one comes up as a 0. Yeah, every once in a while you're just kind of trundling along and you're making decent progress, and then you'll hit. I hit one last night that it had almost 10,000 grants. That one took a while to get through. 12th Hour Foundation in North Carolina. Okay, they do have grants. They're all small grants. 3 grants. All less than 5,000. Okay, boom. Get rid of the date range. Now we can search. It always reloads after you get rid of the date range, so you always got to wait a few seconds. 3 grants, like we saw. If there's only 3 grants, you can tell all 3 say the 12th Hour Foundation. So in this case, we can go ahead and just download the CSV. If you don't like right-clicking, you can always use your keyboard commands to do copy and paste. Paste. feel like I'm at a game show and I'm hoping for the Chang Family Foundation. Okay. 4 grants, 3 grants, 1 grant, another one that doesn't have a whole lot. Okay, 8 grants. If we don't find one soon, I'll go back and redo one that has multiple. But I was kind of hoping to combine doing actual foundations with an instructional video. It gets a 1 because we did find grants. Come on. Big money, big money. Okay, there's grant makers. Dorothy Town Foundation. Where are they at? In Reno, Nevada. Six grants. 1 grant. 7 grants. Why are they? Come on, give me something good. Actually, all data is good. Because all data is going to tell us something. Okay, Dorothy Town. They're all Dorothy Town. Download. We'll give it a few more tries, and if it doesn't, then I'll replicate some work. That was there. I know this has to be just riveting. Okay, it's there. The Sam and Judy McDonald Foundation, Henderson, Nevada. What do we got? Oh, we got lots of grants. Get rid of the date range. Search. 196 grants. Huzzah. View all. Now, you're never going to be able to eye them because they're going to be on multiple pages, so it's really super important that you do the grant maker. Okay, Sam and Judy McDonald Foundation, because if you get one where there's 20 pages of grants and on page 18 there's one of those receiving grants buried in. Okay, Sam and Judy. Okay, so they're all the Sam and Judy McDonald Foundation. But if there's one buried, 18 pages through and it's down here someplace, you're never going to see it. So it's really important that you do that. Click. Download a CSV of these results. If there's 100, it takes a little bit longer. Okay, we're going to paste the EIN. Now, because there's going to be multiple pages, we do -001. That indicates that this is the first page of results. What I do is, especially if you're going to get one that has like more than 10, I will actually do 00 like this, copy that, add the 1 at the end, so that way when I get to the 2nd page, I can just paste once it comes up. And then I just have to put a 2. And then once you got to 10, you would erase it, put a 1, hit Control-A, Control-C to copy that, and then you'd do that for all the teens, and then when you got to the 20s, you would put a 2 here and replace it. But all right, so, and you see this is the 2nd page of the 880393923 EIN. So that's why it's -002. Like I said, the reason there's 3 digits here is because very few foundations give more than 10,000, but if they do give more than 10,000 grants in the given time period that we're downloading stuff, it'll go up to 101 or 100. the highest I've seen so far is 9,800. But that doesn't mean that those kinds of foundations aren't out there. And especially if we change the parameters of what you're going to go after and go after like community foundations, they might actually give away that much. But we need to be able to isolate where the grants are appearing, which page that they're on, if we have to reproduce any of these the data downloads. So that should be the majority of cases. Oop, one thing I don't want to forget. There we go. So at this point, you're going to copy and paste the next one, move on, copy and paste the next one, move on, copy and paste the next one, and move on, and just keep going until you get all the way through. And that's the majority of what we're looking at. So I hope you can watch this and it will make it a little bit clearer. And we can go over any questions you have tomorrow, 2:30 at the library. Talk to you later.